I guess I don't know if it's summer out there, but it sure is. The weather sure is nice. Had a nice ferry ride over from Port Orchard this morning in the sun. So, community, Mr. Clausen, you got next order of business is the Community Advisory Committee reports.
Yes, sir. The committee met on the 25th, and we, other than going over your agenda, which is a normal agenda item, we did have opportunity to chat with the members about any of their community reports. We did talk a bit about their suggestions for 2026 goals, and they provided a couple, two or three. One, they recognized or were aware of our signage update project that we're doing, and were supportive of continuing on with that. Continue to work on fast ferry on-time performance statistics, better communications regarding changes and delays. And that's been a subject that we've been chatting with for a while. And when we have more time, maybe I could share some of the specific issues related to that, but it is something that we're working on. We talked about the issue of winter coming on, and one of the challenges that we have with the Kingston route is that the way the barge is established, it's open to the winter weather, and sometimes the wave actions and things that's wind coming off of the sound has some challenges for loading and offloading passengers. So they were wondering about the feasibility of repositioning the float, that maybe would be a little bit easier for the vessels to deal with instead of having that wind come broadside of the vessels. We also talked a little bit about is there any flexibility with the Kingston ferry schedule? There is a period of time where the vessel has a layover as far as schedule wise in Seattle. In reality, that space and time is the time necessary to take the vessel into a fueling facility in Seattle and refuel the vessel. So we talked a little bit about some of the schedule issues. We also talked a little bit about World Cup and some of the issues related to that. Could be setting the agency up and prepare for World Cup and some of the things related to it. We also, with the week without your automobile, one of our CAC members, J.R. Dennison, thank you. He represents the visually impaired community, and he did a video for us that we posted on our website to kind of explain some of the challenges that he experiences in his day-to-day operation. So it was a very good and robust discussion that we had. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
You might want to ask him to wait.
Chair, could we pause for a moment?
Certainly.
Please.
The computer restarted itself.
This is start.
Yeah, not 20 minutes into.
So our recording is offline then?
Yes.
I believe so. I mean, I'm still in, but
We're doing that. Back after my, John and I had the opportunity to attend the conference, American
Just breathe.
Association Conference, Boston, here a couple weeks ago, and that John's comment about World Cup made me think about, I had the opportunity to ride their public transportation system there and their subway system. And one of my takeaways was
that's fine.
not everybody, it is the importance of having good signage where you can buy your tickets. Not, they had good signs, but they weren't conveniently located. So, If you're not.
Recording in progress.
And so so, you know, and it doesn't have to be, you know, these fancy automated signs, just a good system map, where you get off the bus or where you buy the ticket, conveniently located. So you know where your next connection is and where you're going. So, so I think there's some inexpensive solutions related to World Cup that we could potentially implement that I just having some firsthand experience on in another city, when you don't know where you're going, it sure opened my eyes. So, all right, we're back recording or not? No? Okay. I'll stall a little longer. And also you know, I served as our representative on the Fair Forum and Regional Fair Forum, which is all of the transit agencies in the Puget Sound region. And you know, one of the highest, not one of the highest priority is the open payments so you can tap a credit card ahead of World Cup. Because not anybody from traveling for another country is going to have an Orca card. So we need to make having open payments is the #1 priority that they're working on over there. So we're good to go. All right, record. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little computer glitch. But so we are to item 5 on our agenda, which is the consent items. Is there a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll move to approve the consent items.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Root, second by Mayor Wheeler to approve the consent items as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The consent items have been approved. We're to our full discussion items. The first of which is Resolution 2568, approval of change order #4, Kitsap Transit 22758 for CAD project. So could you tell us what CAD is?
CAD is the computer aided dispatch.
Okay.
AVL is automated vehicle location.
Okay.
APC is automated passenger counting. AVA is automated voice annunciation. And the RTPI system, to be perfectly honest with you, that one completely escaped me. So I think it is in
real-time passenger
system replacement.
systems. Yeah.
So essentially, this is all of the upgraded technology that we've been working on for over a year now to upgrade the technology that's on all of our buses. This is the system that, as I indicated with all these acronyms, basically it tells us where the buses are, tells us where passengers are getting on and getting off, and a variety of other features. We had a bit of a challenge for a while. I will say that we're making good progress. The system is starting to produce information, certainly the automated voice annunciation system. In our recent writing of services, especially the buses, we had an opportunity to see that in real time. That is an automated voice annunciation that tells folks on the buses what the next stop is or major intersection coming up, so that folks who are possibly visually impaired have the ability to understand where the bus is and be able to request a stop in a timely fashion. In regards to the delay that we've been experiencing, we need to extend the agreement that we have with the consultant that's helping us with the technical aspects of this project. So we're asking to do a change order to their existing contract that would keep them on through what we anticipate to be the remainder of this project, while we in particular are certifying the automated passenger counting system, which is going to take pretty much I won't say it's going to take a year, but from the start of that, it'll probably take a year to get certified for certainly to qualify with the Federal Transit Administration for being able to use that data to meet our national transit database reporting on an annual basis.
All right. That is questions from Ms. Clausen or a motion? Councilmember Rose Pepe.
Thank you, Chair. Move to adopt resolution number 25-68, authorizing staff to approve contract Kitsap Transit 22-728, change order 4 in the amount of $94,840. Reauthorizing the executive director's authority in accordance with Kitsap Transit procurement policy.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rose Pepe and a second by Councilmember Moffitt. Any questions of Mr. Clausen? Yes, you have a question? Yes, all right.
I do. Good morning, Director Clausen. So this is our fourth change order on this contract, and you all know I am very, very happy about getting real data about passengers. Have we talked to other cities? I know Madison, Wisconsin reached out to, because they have been experiencing similar delays and numerous change orders in the process of acquiring and installing and testing this software. So have we reached out to any other cities that are customers so that we might gang together, as it were, and talk to the company that's producing this software?
Good morning, by the way. Thank you. No, we have not. It's probably from the standpoint that although there is a general issue related to technology, it seems like every transit system is a little different as far as what components, for example, did they buy? Did they just buy the computer-aided dispatch, or did they buy the automatic passenger counters, that sort of thing? So there's kind of a saying in transit: when you've seen one transit agency, you've seen one transit agency. So we are dealing with our systems and making sure that what we purchased is working correctly before we sign off on the contract with the developer. And as I said, we're making good progress, and there's a number of components of the system that is working well. There's just a few glitches that we're into. We're dealing, for example, now with the difference between a detour and a snow route. So some of those actions that the dispatchers will take has an effect on the timekeeping portion. So it's little glitches that we're working through with the software to get resolved.
Thank you. Can I just ask again, did Madison, Wisconsin reach out to you? Because I understand that when you've seen one transit agency, you've seen one transit agency. However, customer service and company reliability are more homogeneous. It's something that I think might be worth investigating now that we are on change order number 4. Has anybody followed up with Madison?
Stephanie is more leading this project, so I'll ask Stephanie, but as she's coming up, I will say that there's transit system in the Puget Sound that have this product from this company that we've chatted with before, but whether we've talked to Madison directly.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Stephanie Lilly, Service and Capital Development Director. And to answer your question, very straightforward, no, we've not talked to Madison. They've not reached out to us. So, but what I will say is the developer of the product and their reliability and responsiveness has been very good. The issues that we are experiencing are truly KT issues with how we operate our service comparatively to maybe New York MTA. And so you have to remember that they have a package that they sell, but every little piece gets customized based on our services and how we operate services. We have little things such as loop routes. We have ferry take-home services. We have things that don't exist anywhere else. And those are the things that they're having to do specialty development for to make sure that this system will work. This change order here is for Arcadis, who is our basically construction manager for this project. And they are the ones that are making sure that Clever Devices is following all of the rules and everything is technically dialed in and working perfectly before we write the final bill to Clever Devices. So it's the two, basically they're holding hands. We've got one that's helping us and the other one that's providing the service and the product for us.
Thank you for that explanation.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And I hope you understand the point of these questions. Just to make sure that, you know, all is well out there. Okay, thanks. All done. Appreciate it.
Other questions? All right, you'd be voting on approval of change order number 4 for the CAD project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We are to resolution number 2569, approval of the disposal of surplus items. Mr. Clausen?
Yes, sir. This is just, we're asking for permission. We have a certain amount of parts in our inventory that is no longer needed for the transit agency. In some cases, it's parts to vehicles that are no longer in our fleet. So we're just asking for permission to surplus this so that we can get it out of our inventory and dispose of it so that we're not spending an awful lot of time tracking something that we don't use.
All right, is there a motion? Go ahead, Commissioner. Sorry.
Okay. Move to adopt resolution number 25-69, authorizing staff to surplus Kitsap transit vehicles, equipment and parts shown in Exhibit A in best interest of the agency.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Mochler, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe. For any discussion?
Question? Director, Clausen. Oh. Yes, sir. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
On this surplus, is this something that we're just gonna get rid of, or are we gonna try to resell? Or maybe try to make any replacement revenue on it?
Well, all of our surplus items have to go through a process to make sure that we're getting the best value for the parts. So whether it will go, a lot of times with our vehicles, for example, we, once we've exhausted the local nonprofits, go to an auction service and get auctioned out. So this would be somewhat the same thing. We'll reach out to see if there's other agencies that maybe have the need for these parts, or
Great.
we'll just set it up to an auction.
Okay, thank you.
So there is some form of recovery if where appropriate.
Exactly. We'll get the best value we can for it. So
Councilmember, go ahead.
Will this by any chance make more room for the maintenance people in the buildings that you showed us? In the shops that they work in?
well, it certainly will make more room in the warehouse where we store parts, but not a significant amount.
All right. Any last questions? You'll be voting on the disposal of surplus items, resolution 2569. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has passed. Want to do drivers or your report, Mr. Clausen?
No, let's go ahead and do the operators.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Jeff Vinecourt, Access Manager. It's my pleasure to introduce, I'm sorry, I'm out of breath, Curtis Emmel, Access Operator Curtis Emmel. He's been here for 2 years. This is his first driver of the month. Curtis has been awarded 2 Way to Goes, 2 Distinguished Driver Awards, and 14 Honor Roll. And a 2-year Safety Driving Award. His most memorable moment at Kitsap Transit is taking clients to the ARC Dance, which is now Peninsula Alliance Dance on Friday nights. Curtis Professional goes to Driver of the Year, which I'm rooting for. A fun fact about him, he used to be a meat cutter for 30 years. So, well, change over. That's fantastic. As words of wisdom to fellow drivers, relax, don't hurry or worry. Everything will turn out fine. Congratulations, Curtis. Anything?
I don't have a lot to say, just, I'm happy to be working for Transit. It's a great job and I think it's a great service for the community. I feel like it's not a lot of places have a service like that and it's really needed. I know a lot of people that I transport, wouldn't have another option, honestly, whether it be financially or, you know, people in wheelchairs just wouldn't have another way to get around. So I'm really happy to do it and honored to do it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Thomas Gilbert. I'm the Routed Operations Manager. I'll be talking about two awards. First, for Routed Driver of the Month for August 2025. We'd like to recognize Marvin Jackson. Marvin Jackson, this is his 8th Driver of the Month award, well-deserved milestone in his career. Value member of the team since 2002. That's 23 years of dedication to Kitsap Transit. He has received 43 Way to Go awards, 138 honor roll, 21 safe driving awards, and 1 Driver of the Year in 2014. So just put our hands together for a big congratulations and outstanding service to Marvin Jackson. He's also retired Navy as well. All right, moving on to Worker Driver of the Month for August 2025, Chris Buke. Chris started as a worker driver in May of 2009. He is the lead driver of the Ilihi route and is on the Worker Driver Safety Committee. He is an instructor for PSNS and always takes the opportunity to tell his students about the Worker Driver program. Chris can find honor in almost any situation and loves to spend time with his family. He hopes to live a long, happy life. His words of wisdom to fellow drivers are to be nice and drive like it's your name on the bus. So great job to Chris. We enjoy having him on the team. Excellent operator. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just have a few items that I wanted to share with the board. One is an issue that has come up and we're doing some research, but I wanted to share with the board with some of the changes that the state has made. One of them is that van pools are no longer exempt from tolls. And in particular, this impacts some of our vans that cross the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. So the issue, and I've been chatting with our fellow transit agencies around the Puget Sound that are impacted to figure out how do we deal with that. When the Tacoma Narrows Bridge first put tolls on, I believe we charged the various groups the cost of the tolls. Then, of course, the state made changes to where they're exempt, so they have not. Well, now that it's coming back, we're trying to figure out how big of an impact is that financially and whether or not we should recommend to go ahead and either absorb those costs as part of the operation or pass them on to the van pullers. So I just wanted to share that issue with the board. We're doing some due diligence to figure that out, and we'll be coming back to the board with a recommendation on how we should handle that since it deals with fares. The other piece is just to give you a heads up, I had a meeting, Michael Bozard, our operations director, and I met with a team from the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard to talk in general about some of the impacts that are going to be dealt with as far as PSNS and their expansion and improvement program that they're doing. And it goes kind of beyond PSNS in general, but specifically we were talking about some of the challenges that their employees are going to be experiencing during this remodeling and projects that's going to have quite a bit of impact to the community as well as specifically to the shipyard itself. So I just wanted to share more to come on that. We're working together to see what we can do to try to encourage and expand the usage of public transit for those folks that are coming to the shipyard every day for work. The last two things actually. One, they're both fun, is I just wanted to report to the board that last Monday we had a start of the Week Without Your Car experience, and we had scheduled a lunch at Olympic College for which let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 board members that took advantage of that, actually left their vehicles at their work sites and used public transportation to get to Olympic College and attended the meeting where we met with the acting president of Olympic College as well as some of her key staff and talked about not only the Week Without Your Automobile, but also a project that Sanjay Bhatt has been working diligently on for a while on trying to put together an OC student pass that would give them access to the transit system. So we did some presentations at the luncheon of some of the information and Sanjay has developed in talking with other colleges around the state and other transit agencies and what kind of programs they have. So I thought it was a very good meeting. We left the meeting with the commitment on both sides that we're going to continue to work together to see if we can come up with a program that is going to work for both the college as well as Kitsap Transit. So that was encouraging. But I also wanted to share some of the board members recorded their experience with public transportation. I will say that the gold star goes to Councilmember Moriwaki for his commute. Just to describe it briefly, he rode Washington State ferries from Bainbridge to Seattle, rode our fast ferry from Seattle to Bremerton, rode our bus from Bremerton to from the ferry terminal in Bremerton to Olympic College, and then after the meeting, he rode buses from Olympic College through Silverdale to Paulsbo and down 305 back to. So they each shared, and Commissioner Rutt and Commissioner Walters kind of recorded their experience of riding buses from the courthouse down to the Port Orchard Ferry and the ferry across and the bus to the OC. And I will say that I committed myself. I walked from my house to the bus stop, which was about 5 blocks. Rode the bus down to the ferry across and so on, and reversed that. And then I think probably the best was Councilmember Mockler, who decided to use her shoes as the main method of transportation, and she walked to the meeting. I'm not sure if you walked home from the meeting, but anyway, we do have a few little short videos of our commissioners' experiences in writing it. So we'd like to show you. Well, I guess we're not going to be able to show you. Technology, isn't it wonderful? We did take their experiences and we put it on the.
Here we are, we're at the bus stop.
Well, we got the sound. I guess you'll just have to take our word for it that it was, we did post their videos on our website and social media. So thank you for taking advantage of it. And I thought it was a great experience. And then Commissioner Rolfus, you wanted to.
Yes.
I don't want to take away from Clarence's experience, but I do want to say I couldn't be there on Monday for the Olympic College thing, but I wanted to do a day without driving, so I commuted to Port Orchard from my house on South Bainbridge. And I just want to share, I took the bus. I had to be out of the bus stop at 5:45, which was early. Bus to the ferry terminal to Poulsbo, to the transit center, to downtown Bremerton, the little ferry across Port Orchard, and then hiked up the hill. It was 3 hours. And then on the way home, I did it backwards, but I did Clarence's route of the three ferries home, and then a friend gave me a ride from the Bainbridge terminal. About 2 hours and 45 minutes back. And my video would not have been so cheerful because it was dark for most of my commute. But interesting, first of all, kudos to all of the transit operators because they were so friendly and it was fun to see everybody in action. But the biggest busload that got on from Poulsbo to Bremerton was OC students who were commuting to the college for either to work or for classes, the campus in Bremerton. So it was ironic that you all were there on Monday talking about how to increase that. And then I got to see in real life how that is being used. And they left at 7 and got to the campus at 8. So they also had a really long day just to get to classes.
Quick question for you. Did you take the bus from the Port Orchard Ferry up to the courthouse or did you walk up that hill?
I walked because I am physically active.
Well, good for you,
But it was
but just,
weird. And it's also, I know that there is a bus,
Mhm.
but it was faster to walk it if you can.
is the bus, the reason I rode that bus, that's how I get to and from my house, and it meets every ferry arrival and goes directly up the hill. And I think the first stop after the ferry terminal is either in front of the courthouse or there at the corner of Division in Sydney, so.
Well, Mr. Director, I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Rolfes right here treks the Alps. So she's just conditioning for her next adventure. So just to put that there.
Thank you.
But since I still kind of have the floor, I just want to say it really highlighted how hard it is to get to the courthouse if you live in North Kitsap. So it's an issue that we need to figure it out.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there should be a funicular there. I just hope that we follow up with the OC students. Interim President Joan Hanton was at the meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about really granular costs. And Sanjay Bhatt had created a whole comparison of costs at different cities for different plans, what other colleges do. And he'd also given us the results of one of the Octobers, 24, 23, 22, just raise your hand when I hit it right. But for the month of October, a pilot program was done where all OC students were given free, fully loaded Orca cards. And the ridership that resulted, I really hope we follow up on this because the costs to me don't seem to be that high. And we'd be creating and helping a whole new generation of people to ride the buses and increase ridership and get single occupancy vehicles off the road.
Yes, actually, we do have, I guess you could call it a gift at our last transit appreciation event that we had for the staff and operators alike. We usually on an annual basis, we find some kind of a small gift that we can provide to the employees and thank them for their good jobs that they do. And we have some that we have designated for each of you as well to thank you. And we thought it was appropriate that at least the weather guessers that I listened to indicated that today is probably going to be the last day this year where we're going to hit 70-degree temperatures, which tells me that it's going to start getting cooler. So for each of you, we have Kitsap Transit socks to help when you're out walking to the bus stop to keep your feet warm. So if I may, I'll give you that. And then that concludes my portion.
Got AWC socks and now, especially in Washington State, now transit socks. Look at that. Buses and ferries. Okay.
Put those in my first pictures. There you go. Thank you very much. This is good.
All right, we've already tackled the drivers. I guess it's time to tee Dylan up now for our lobbyist report when John's finished handing out socks.
Follow that. Bring bad names.
It would have been, yeah. Katie did a great job.
All right. Well, tough act to follow. Dylan Doty, your lobbyist down in Olympia, and I just figured you guys were going through a little bit of lobbyist withdrawal since it's been a few months since I've been here. So wanted to come and grace you with my presence here. But now I really wanted to do a preview. We normally in September or October are talking about our legislative agendas. It's been a little slow developing this year with respect to the financial status at the state legislature and kind of what's coming down. We finally had our latest revenue forecast at the end of September, and it was predictably a mixed bag, leaning towards bad news is the best way to talk about it. Starting with the transportation budget, that is the good news portion or the not so bad news portion, I guess. It still shows projected revenues in the transportation budget increased over what they had projected when they passed the biennial budget in April. And so just slightly lower increase than what they had projected in June. So if we follow past a budget in April, they looked like they were going to get even more revenue in June at the forecast. September forecast, a little bit lower, but still ahead of where they were. The same is not true of the operating budget. So the operating budget, as you guys probably saw in the news at the end of September, is looking at about a $900 million shortfall heading into the session. We will have one more revenue forecast in November to see if that changes at all. But that's going to be kind of a crossover issue. So obviously they passed a whole bucket full of new taxes this past legislative session. They're coming into a short session, 60 days. It's going to be something that they're going to hope to get done on time so they can go fundraise and have a little election next fall, which they typically try to avoid massive tax increases in a short election year session. But where this is really going to impact us, we saw this a little bit. John alluded to the toll issue, for instance, that transits are getting hit by tolls. That was part of the big bargain, saying that, hey, you're going to get some more revenue, but we're going to charge you a little bit on the back end. One of the other things that's being done to transit and other local governments is the sales tax on services does apply to groups like Kitsap Transit, especially including ILAs, interlocal agreements. So sales tax on security services, we contract with the county sheriff's office. We will now be paying sales tax on those contracts from Kitsap Transit to the sheriff's department or any local PD. Those things are adding up to a little bit of angst this coming session. One thing that I noted when we got done in April, when I was here in May, was that the legislature for the first time approved in legislation, I think it was Senate Bill 5802, a general fund transfer of what accounted to about, I think, $600 million biennially from the operating budget to the transportation budget. That is set to kick in the 27 to 29 biennium. So a lot of numbers there, but that's projected to start in the future. That's a pretty decent chunk out of 900 million for the shortfall. What's that going to do to the long-term or midterm transportation budget projections now? And so there's a palpable fear or discussion going on in the transportation community that some of those funds may be swept or rolled back, to say nothing of additional efforts in the CCA arena and things like that, the Climate Commitment Act, which just today, I think the US Supreme Court denied cert and is not going to be looking any further at the CCA. So that one is at least done for now. And so all of that being said, with the budget situation, with the sales tax situation, one more little caveat on sales tax. That bill was projected to bring in about 1.1 billion of the big sale or big tax increase this session. One provision of that is already being challenged in court by Comcast and digital advertising. That's about a $475 million hit out of that. And if that court case advances, or if the legislature chooses to repeal that section to get out of the litigation, then that's yet another little bucket there that they're going to have to backfill. So all of that great news being said, as we look to our legislative agenda development, it's mainly asking for money, which doesn't necessarily bode well in the coming session. But just for context, it looks like we're scheduled to get about 314 grand for World Cup FIFA stuff out of the formula that they passed last year. That was one thing that talking to I know a few of the board members here are very interested in seeing if we could plus that up as we look to, meet the demand increases that are coming with FIFA. Whether there's money available in that, I say all of that, precursor as the backdrop to what we're facing right now. It's not that there's not an opportunity necessarily, simply that, eyes wide open as to what we're looking at. The one policy piece that I wanted to highlight that might be up for discussion this year, and I think there's an article that came out again today in the Times about transit safety. Obviously, that's a big issue nationwide. Transit safety is something that could politically become one of those little political footballs between left and right. We hope it doesn't, but there is some discussion. We have not seen any concrete policy proposals, but different things for transit security, whether it's going to be grants, whether it's additional things that they might be looking at in that arena, is one of the smaller policy pieces that we may see advance, or at least discussion move forward this year. So with all of that goofy news and numbers and all of that, I did want to solicit some thoughts or feedback, if there's any thoughts or ideas from the board members here as we look at heading into our short 60-day session. So
any thoughts or words of advice, words of wisdom for Dylan?
Try to avoid the reception room down there, since it's going to be under reconstruction after a vandal decided to hit it up over yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's too bad. Clarence?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. The sales taxes, has our finance picture looked at what that might be for the services that we are contracting with, what that sales tax might cost us?
I believe that the number was about $85,000 per year for the security portion. Now, there are other issues that did get caught up in that bill. If we're, certain temporary staffing, certain other services did get a sales tax applied to them. There's a couple of others that we're not sure if they fit under the security. So I don't know if we use armored cars or things like that. There might be some other things in there that have ancillary. There's digital advertising. I mentioned that one is under challenge right now. I don't know that we would necessarily get hit with that unless we're doing a lot of advertising on Peacock or Paramount Plus or something. But the other one that I had heard in that arena, not just temporary staffing, I'm going off memory now. There was one other provision in there that looked like, if we do presentations, so live presentations, things like that. I don't know if we would ever pay speakers to come in. It doesn't count for me. This is, but if you paid speakers to come in, whether it's virtual or not, those would be taxable events as well now. And so I know conferences. So any of you who go to the AWC conference or WASAC conferences, that's something that they as organizations will have to pay attention to now.
Let me add that the majority of the impacts to transit is mostly related to security. We have a large contract with a private security firm that provides security in some of our facilities, as well as we have an annual contract with the city of Bremerton for hiring off-duty officers to help with some issues down at the Bremerton Ferry Terminal in the afternoon. So those are the two big issues that putting sales tax on those two will be that 85,000. We do have some armored car services, but it's gone down over the years with the advent of Orcas, so it's pretty minimal as far as armored.
And
Right.
I'll simply add real quick that part of the refrain when I'm having these conversations with legislators is the question then comes back, well, how much are you going to get out of the sales taxes that have been applied, more broadly now? That's a tough question to answer. Statewide, they had projected 1.1 billion over the 2 year cycle. That's for the statewide, for the state sales tax. How that gets broken down by county, and then how within the county that gets spread down to transit, I'm not sure if that would eat up the 85 or if we're still in the red or if we'd be in the black at that point. So I'm not sure how we quantify that.
Thanks, Dylan. And you just hit something. I didn't realize there's going to be sales tax on speaking fees, of which I do that quite often. So that's news to me. Great. How many of these funds are federal grants or federal pass-through?
Well, so a lot of the capital grants are, and that's one thing that talking to Sanjay or some other folks around here, I know that some of the federal grants might be slower delayed. And so there is something that I want to maintain. John and I haven't talked in depth about this yet, but as we identify projects that matching funds from federal grants are delaying, we may need to seek rolling those over into the next biennium or next fiscal year. And so there's things that we may need to be aware of. So if there are pauses or things that are slowing us down from being able to do our job with the grants, the capital grants that have come our way from the state due to matching delays, then something to highlight for me as we head into Olympia.
One final, if I may. I don't know, maybe some of you on this dais may have seen this, but I've heard from other cities that there's new language in the federal grants that say, in effect, that you will comply and support any actions of the federal government within your community, which would imply perhaps ICE or other things. And hopefully I haven't seen that yet with ours, but I hear that that is something that's going through kind of a boilerplate thing for all the federal grants that are going to municipalities and counties. So
that's one of the, again, political football as it may be, at the national level. It is a legitimate question about supremacy on some of these things and what we can do and can't do. There was a work session last week in Olympia on the Keep Washington Working Act, which limits a lot of the local law enforcement ability to coordinate with ICE. They passed a bill last year. Percentage of it was, not necessarily needed, but they passed a bill last year to prevent bail recovery agents, for instance, from working with ICE. Not something they typically did, but so we know that there are going to be additional pieces of legislation and proposals that will be meant to kind of insulate Washington from some of the national environment. How that trickles down into transit right now is anybody's guess, but I would suspect to see language on some of that, especially after the ICE raid on the wildfire response, things like that. So I would imagine that we'll see things like that. I think we're going to see a handful of other general policy bills. I could see a bill on preventing law enforcement from wearing masks, things like that are out there kind of in the zeitgeist right now nationally. The other revenue piece that I've been hearing, and this is maybe just a quick preview, we don't know if we'll get there, but it wouldn't shock me to see the legislature put a wealth tax on the ballot next year. Something they could potentially pass this year with a provision that makes it go to the ballot, as opposed to seeing it, inevitably referended or, challenged in court. And so not something they could bank on. But again, they're really trying to get ahead of the 2027 to 29 biennial budget crisis. They can get through this session without doing much, but what can they do to preempt and prevent some of the problems in the 27 biennium is really, I think, what we're going to see. And that's where we see maybe this general fund transfer to transportation come into play. Maybe, they're just going to do a few things to where they're not having to scramble in 27. So, policy issues, budget issues, going to be yet another fun one. 60 days, March 13th. I think it's Friday the 13th. It's the last day of session. Already looking ahead. So stay tuned. But if there's anything else from this group, like I said, I want to hear from you guys, and you can always hit me up offline or go through John. But But if there's other ideas or issues that I'm not identifying yet, let me know.
Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Just a couple comments. One, we've been presented with those agreements, if you will, from the Federal Transit Administration that we were obligated to sign if we are interested in accepting grants, which we did. And there is some of that same language in there that we can't oppose ICE actions, as well as the one that I had the biggest problem with, I think, but we always have the opportunity to turn down a grant, I guess, if it gets to be too much, is that we're obligated to comply with any future obligations that the current administration might come up with, which is like signing for something I don't know yet. But anyway, there is a way out. The other comment that I wanted to make, Dylan, I'm not sure, you made reference to the Climate Commitment Act going to the US Supreme Court. I'm not aware of that. I'm aware of it going to the state Supreme Court. And the state has turned down a request to rule on it. So at state level, but I don't.
I'm pretty sure it was US. Yeah.
Was it the US?
There was a
Supreme Court?
federal challenge in the US District Court that was upheld. They dismissed the challenge. Then it was upheld
Okay.
by the Ninth Circuit, and US Supreme Court denied cert. They didn't make any comments. They just said, no, we're not
Yeah,
gonna look at it.
okay, good. That's something I wasn't aware of, so
Yeah.
thank you.
So
The last comment that I wanted to make is in reference to something I mentioned earlier, and that's in regards to the level of service that we need to do in support of the World Cup coming next year. And that's what I want to have a discussion with the board later this month to talk about the different options that we have available to increase service or not, and the price tags that go along with it. As Dylan mentioned, the funding that has been allocated to date from the state, at least, we're in line to receive about $314,000, which I joked with some of my cohorts around the Puget Sound in that won't cover the fuel bill on the ferry boats if we're going to expand service. So it truly is an issue that I think we need to have more discussion on, figure out what levels of service will have some price tags, and then that will help us work with whatever funding opportunities there might be to see what we can do to find the funds to be able to do that.
Can we back up to that court? So what was,
There was a challenge in the US District Court that essentially said the CCA was unconstitutional because it was targeting certain private industries over other things like utilities, things like that. US District Court in Washington dismissed that. The Ninth Circuit upheld the dismissal, and it was appealed up to the US Supreme Court that denied review. So.
All right.
So that is, I don't know if that's the final nail in the coffin for now after the ballot measure last year, also here at the state level, but yeah.
Thank you, Dylan. Go ahead, Christine.
Do you think to follow up on John's comment and Dylan's, openness to things, it might be interesting to have a conversation, not just about like getting ferry service covered under FIFA funds, but to maybe ask the legislature for that 6 weeks to have all transit in the impacted counties be free, period, for everybody, tourists and regular riders. It's a lot cheaper for the legislature to subsidize that than to subsidize, free, extra bus runs. But that might be a worthwhile ask, since what do our fares cover, like 20% of our costs? It's a little bit less money, and it would really increase ridership, maybe get some new riders in the system too. So I'd like to see if that's a conversation we could have, because they may pay for that out of Climate Commitment Act's money.
That is actually a topic that's being talked about in the Puget Sound region. Security is an issue when you have large crowds like that. And if we were to go fare free for that period of time, you are essentially taking away one of the major challenges that you have with people trying to figure out how to pay, whether I should pay, how much do I pay, some of those kind of issues. So even from a security standpoint, it might be to our advantage to go fare free. So those are the kinds of discussions that I want to have with the board, because I can only speak to the impacts to Kitsap Transit. And I like your thought of let's see if we can do I'm sure there would be interest around the Puget Sound doing something like that if we could get the legislature to fund the loss of revenue for that period of time.
Mayor Wheeler? No, all right. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thanks. I'm sure all of you are combing through to find any expenses that you can cut. So in this context, I'm just wondering, given the very low usage of the park and rides, I think it's 24% overall. And that's even with McMinnville and Gateway having very high occupancy. Is there a way that we could put a pause on park and rides for a while and use that money to make up some of these deficits in revenue?
Are you directing that question to me or to Dylan?
To whom it may concern.
Well, I would say that it probably means more to me than it does to Dylan, since Dylan doesn't get into the operating budget and I do. That is something that we should have some discussions with over the budget development. There are some expenses related to the park and rides that there's really not much of a savings if we were to stop using the park and ride. Maybe there is some over some of our co-op park and rides that we have with churches, for example. As far as any future construction of park and rides, we could certainly have that discussion at the budget area, because although a lot of park and rides are funded with grant dollars, it does require a certain amount of local dollars to match those. So, but as far as ongoing operating expenses related to a park and ride, it's relatively minimal.
All right. Thank you, Dylan.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have a number of progress reports and financial reports. Anybody have any questions? Any of those? All right. We are then to our public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board? You have 3 minutes. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Jane Rebelowski. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've worked in collaboration with Marwan Cameron, the Executive Director of Gather Together, Grow Together, and Anton Pressinger, Executive Director of Northwest Hospitality, to address a pressing need in our community: the creation of safe parking spaces for working individuals and families who are living in their vehicles. Across Kitsap County, there are people, including employed parents and women with children, who have no safe place to sleep at night. They are working, their kids are in school, and yet they are forced to park in unsafe areas or to move constantly just to avoid being cited. This is not sustainable or humane. Kitsap Transit is in a unique position to help in a way that is both practical and cost-effective. Throughout the county, we have publicly owned and leased park and ride lots that are well lit, well maintained, and underutilized overnight especially. We are asking Kitsap Transit Board to consider designating 3 to 4 parking spaces in each of these lots as part of a safe parking pilot program. These spaces would allow registered working individuals and families to park legally and safely overnight, providing stability while they continue working towards permanent housing. This approach does not require new infrastructure or major investment. It simply uses existing public property more effectively. Volunteers, including Anton Pressinger, are ready to help coordinate the program, ensuring it is orderly, clean, and respectful of both participants and the surrounding neighborhoods. When implemented thoughtfully, programs like this build momentum. A pilot program could offer 3 to 4 safe parking spots per park and ride. We would create criteria to be eligible for the spaces, such as demonstrating employment, school enrollment, and/or families with children. Once a framework is in place, we can expect nonprofits, churches, and even private property owners to follow Kitsap Transit's lead, expanding safe parking options across the county. This is not a permanent housing solution. It's a bridge solution, one that recognizes the reality that people are already sleeping in cars and gives them a safer, more dignified option while longer-term housing is developed. Every community in Kitsap County is facing this issue. By designating just a few spaces in each of your park and ride lots, you could immediately create a meaningful county-wide impact on them, helping dozens of working families to find stability. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your consideration of this compassionate, common sense step forward.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the Kitsap Transit Board? Is there anyone online? Okay, no one online. All right, I'm going to close the public comment period. Go to the order. For the good of the order. Okay. All right, I am going to adjourn our meeting then.